Most people think retirement pressure fades the moment the house is finally theirs. They imagine that last payment like crossing a finish line no one else can see. No more statements in the mail. No more interest calculations. No more fear that a missed paycheck could cost them everything. For years, that moment symbolized freedom. But today, for millions of older Americans, that freedom barely lasts a season. Because the moment the mortgage disappears, another bill steps forward. One that never ends. One that increases quietly. One that does not care how old you are, how long you lived there, or how carefully you planned. Property taxes. And right now, a silent shift is happening across the country. It is not being driven by sunshine. It is not about beaches or golf courses. It is not even about family proximity. It is about survival. Retirees are leaving homes they lived in for decades not because they want to change, but because staying has become financially impossible. Neighborhoods in high-tax states are emptying slowly. Not overnight, not dramatically, but one moving truck at a time. People who spent their lives paying into the system are discovering something unsettling late in life. You can own your home outright and still be forced out of it. Most Americans assume every state treats retirees the same way. That property tax rules are universal. That relief programs are minor, temporary, or buried in paperwork. That assumption is wrong. A small group of states made a radical decision. They did not cap taxes. They did not freeze assessments. They did not offer limited rebates. They erased property taxes for retirees entirely. No annual payments. No escalating bills. No expiration dates. And once word started spreading through retirement communities, church groups, coffee shops, and quiet conversations between neighbors, people began to move. Not impulsively, not recklessly, carefully, deliberately, with calculators in hand. A 71-year-old widow left a coastal state after paying nearly $15,000 each year just to remain in a home she had owned outright since the early 1990s. Her new bill is zero. Over 2 decades, she keeps close to $300,000 she would have otherwise lost. A retired couple in the Northeast had been paying close to $19,000 annually on a modest home purchased decades ago. They moved quietly. Over the remainder of their retirement, they will preserve more than $350,000. This is not a lifestyle trend. It is an exit strategy. And the states losing retirees are beginning to feel the consequences, because when older residents leave, they do not just take furniture and memories. They take steady spending. They take volunteer hours. They take community stability. Today, you are going to learn about 5 places that changed the rules entirely, why they did it, who qualifies, and what most people are not being warned about, because this opportunity may not remain open forever. How the system quietly broke. This shift did not begin with generosity. It began with math. Over the last 20 years, property taxes across the country have risen at a pace fixed incomes simply cannot match. In the early 2000s, the average retiree paid just under $3,000 per year. By the mid-2020s, that number had doubled nationally. In certain states, it tripled. $10,000, $13,000, $17,000 per year on homes that were already paid off. Meanwhile, retirement income did not keep up. Social Security adjustments lagged behind housing costs. Pensions disappeared or stagnated. Savings were stretched further by healthcare, insurance, and inflation. Older Americans were not overspending. They were not upgrading homes. They were not making risky financial decisions. They were simply aging in place. And slowly, invisibly, the system began pushing them out. Across the country, more seniors fell behind on tax bills. Some sold homes they had owned free and clear. Others drained savings they had intended to leave to children. State governments saw the same data, and 5 of them responded in a way no one expected. They did not soften the blow. They eliminated it. Number 1. Riverbend, Tennessee. Riverbend was never flashy. Tucked between rolling hills and old manufacturing corridors, it quietly positioned itself as one of the most retiree-friendly cities in the region long before the headlines caught up. Tennessee already had advantages: no state income tax, lower housing prices compared to surrounding states, a growing healthcare network. But local leadership noticed something others ignored. Retirees are not a burden. They do not require school expansions. They do not compete for entry-level jobs. They bring savings, predictable spending, and long-term residence. So Riverbend partnered with the state to implement a bold policy. Once a resident reaches retirement age and establishes primary residency, property taxes on that home are eliminated completely. Not reduced, not frozen, gone. Funding comes from consumption taxes, tourism activity, and business growth. But the deeper strategy is economic stability. If retirees feel secure, they stay. If they stay, wealth stays local. If wealth stays, communities stabilize. And the results are already visible. Riverbend has seen an influx of retirees from the Midwest and Northeast, people leaving high-tax regions not for scenery, but for certainty. For many, Riverbend represents something rare. A future where aging does not mean financial punishment. Number 2. Silver Plains, Wyoming. Silver Plains did not announce its change loudly. There were no press conferences, no national tours, no viral speeches. Just a quiet adjustment to the tax code. Wyoming has faced population decline for years. Young adults leave for larger job markets. Small towns shrink. Public services strain. Local leaders realize something uncomfortable. Without retirees, entire regions would collapse. So Silver Plains removed property taxes for qualifying retirees permanently. No income thresholds, no sliding scales, no annual renewals. If you qualify once, you are done. The city funds this through mineral royalties, energy, extraction, and long-standing revenue agreements that allow Wyoming to operate differently than most states. Early data already shows retirees arriving from neighboring mountain states and the West Coast. They are not chasing luxury. They are chasing peace. Yes, winters are harsh, but for someone watching their tax bill rise faster than their income, cold weather is easier to tolerate than constant anxiety. Number 3. Mesa Hollow, Texas. Mesa Hollow did not choose this path willingly. It was pushed. Over the last 2 decades, property values across Texas exploded. Homes bought in the 1990s for modest amounts were suddenly assessed at 3 or 4 times their original value. The problem was not wealth, it was paper value. Retirees were being taxed on equity they could not access. Then came a moment that changed everything. At a local hearing, a retired educator stood and said one sentence that spread across the state. "I paid for my house. Now you are charging me rent to stay in it." That line struck a nerve. Within months, Texas passed one of the strongest senior property tax eliminations in the country. If you are 65 or older and the home is your primary residence, your property tax bill becomes zero. No income caps, no value limits, no gradual phase-ins. Mesa Hollow became one of the earliest adopters. The city is betting growth will replace the revenue. And for retirees, the promise of ownership finally means something again. Number 4. Palmetto Bay, Florida. For decades, Palmetto Bay sold a simple promise: warm winters, palm-lined streets, a relaxed pace of life. After decades of work, retirees arrived in waves. Some planned carefully, others simply followed friends. But over time, the numbers stopped making sense. Insurance premiums surged, maintenance costs climbed, and property taxes, once manageable, quietly doubled and tripled for long-term residents. People who had moved to Palmetto Bay in the 1980s or 90s suddenly found themselves paying amounts that rivaled full-time wages just to remain in homes they had owned outright for years. Local officials began seeing warning signs. Older residents were leaving faster than new ones arrived. Longtime homeowners were selling under pressure. Entire neighborhoods were turning over in ways no one expected. So Palmetto Bay made a drastic move. Property taxes for qualifying retirees were eliminated permanently, not phased out, not capped, removed. The decision was not rooted in generosity, it was rooted in urgency. Florida's economy depends heavily on retirees, not just for housing, but for healthcare systems, local spending, and community stability. The funding shift came with consequences. Tourism revenue now carries more weight. Sales taxes contribute more. Younger residents, renters, and new arrivals shoulder a larger share of local costs. For retirees already in Palmetto Bay, the change was life-altering. For younger households, it was a glimpse of future trade-offs. Palmetto Bay remains attractive, but the balance is delicate, and everyone feels it. Number 5. Prairie Crossing, North Dakota. Prairie Crossing was never meant to be a retirement destination. The winters are long, the towns are quiet, the distances are vast. But today, Prairie Crossing offers something almost extinct in modern America: predictability. For years, the region watched its population age rapidly. Young people left for cities. Schools consolidated. Healthcare access thinned. Lawmakers faced a stark reality. If retirees leave too, the region collapses faster. So Prairie Crossing eliminated property taxes entirely for qualifying seniors. No partial exemptions. No temporary relief. A forever exemption. The city funds this through energy royalties and federal partnerships. It is not without risk. But the alternative was worse, and something unexpected happened. Retirees began arriving, not in massive waves, but steadily. People who valued calm over convenience, certainty over excitement. Prairie Crossing does not promise luxury. It promises that the cost of living will not chase you as you age. For many retirees, that is more valuable than any amenity. Who actually qualifies? Despite how dramatic these programs sound, the requirements are surprisingly straightforward. Age requirement. Most locations set eligibility at 65. Some allow access a bit earlier under specific conditions, but 65 remains the standard threshold. Primary residence. The property must be your main home. In most cases, this means living there at least 6 months out of the year. Vacation homes do not qualify. Second homes do not qualify. The goal is long-term residency. Ownership. You must own the home. Mortgaged or fully paid off both count. But rental and investment properties are excluded. Income limits. This is where most people are shocked. The majority of these cities do not impose income limits. Whether your retirement income is modest or substantial, eligibility does not change. The goal is stability, not means testing. Application process. In most cases, the exemption requires a one-time filing with the county or city tax office. Proof of age, proof of residency, proof of ownership. Once approved, the exemption remains in place permanently unless you sell or move. The process is intentionally simple. These places want retirees, and they want them to stay. The risks no one likes to talk about. Eliminating property taxes sounds like a miracle solution, but ignoring the risks can be costly. Risk 1: rising secondary costs. Lower property taxes do not mean low overall expenses. Insurance in coastal areas has surged dramatically. Utilities in hot climates can be expensive year-round. Heating costs in colder regions can be substantial. Savings must be evaluated holistically. A zero tax bill does not guarantee affordability. Risk 2: long-term sustainability. Every city is betting on something. Tourism, population growth, energy revenue, federal support. If those revenue streams weaken, adjustments will follow. Permanent depends on budgets. Risk 3: service reductions. Some communities have already trimmed services. Libraries with shorter hours, reduced public transit, delayed infrastructure repairs. Lower taxes sometimes mean fewer public amenities. Risk 4: burden shifts. When one group pays less, another often pays more. Younger residents, renters, new homeowners. Over time, this can change community dynamics. Understanding these shifts is critical before relocating. A real decision, not a fantasy. Marilyn is 70 years old. She spent more than 3 decades in the same Midwestern city. Her house was paid off. Her neighborhood was familiar. Her routines were settled. But her property taxes climbed past $12,000 per year. She ran the numbers. Over 20 years, she would lose nearly $250,000 just to stay. She did not rush. She visited 3 cities, talked to locals, reviewed utility bills, asked uncomfortable questions. This spring, she moves to Prairie Crossing. Her new property tax bill will be 0. Her words were simple. "I already paid for my house. I just want to live in it." How to decide if this path is right for you. This decision is personal and complex, but a clear process helps. Step 1. Calculate your current burden. Multiply your annual property tax by 20 years. That number often surprises people. Step 2. Compare total living costs. Look beyond taxes, insurance, utilities, healthcare access, transportation. Step 3. Visit before committing. Online research can mislead. Reality cannot. Spend time there. Visit grocery stores. Drive neighborhoods. Talk to residents. Step 4. Understand the paperwork. Know exactly what qualifies. No deadlines. Know who to contact locally. Step 5. Speak with a professional. Relocation affects taxes, healthcare access, estate planning, and family logistics. Expert advice matters. The bigger picture. 5 cities made a clear choice. They decided aging should not be punished. They decided ownership should mean security. They decided retirees are worth competing for. This movement is spreading quietly, not through headlines, not through trends, through conversations. If rising property taxes are putting pressure on your retirement, this information matters. But action should be careful, informed, and deliberate. Research thoroughly, verify locally, plan realistically, because for many retirees, this is not about saving money. It is about staying housed. It is about dignity. And it is about finally enjoying the home they already paid for. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Take this information seriously. Share it with someone who may need it. And until next time, take care. This content is provided for educational and informational purposes only and does not constitute legal, financial, or tax advice. Property tax laws vary by location and may change over time. Eligibility requirements, exemptions, and application processes differ by jurisdiction. Always consult a qualified tax professional, financial advisor, or attorney before making relocation or tax-related decisions. Individual situations vary, and outcomes are not guaranteed.